Okay, so I've been DMing for 38 years, and I do a lot of different accents and voices for my characters, for the NPCs my players run up against. Now, they find it amusing as hell that the Irish guy does English accents quite well, especially the high British and more educated accents. Of course, I can do a bit of Cockney accent too when I want to, but that's more because I like to make my boss go a little loopy. You know, he's former SAS, Cockney, South London, and all that. Yeah, bloke's got to have a little bit of a jab at him. So, I mean, I'm not perfect, obviously. I'm not a voice actor. It's not my thing. But, no, so they kind of tease me about that and the fact that for some reason all of my barbarians are Russian. But I can't do Scandinavian accents for shite. I mean, you know, the best you get is this. I go through, you play Rus, and everyone from Norland to Luskan to, yeah, Uthgard all sounds the same. But what they really love is when I do non-human characters, because I get into, I'll make the languages as I go along, and it's just kind of a thought process. For world building, when you're a DM, I just think about, okay, culturally, how would their language evolve? So, for example, with orcs, it's guttural, it's harsh, it's a violent, angry language, because they are a violent, angry people that were created by the god Grumsh in a fit of anger. So, when you're dealing with orcs, it's whereas with goblins, it's more chitter chatter because they're fast speaking. They're basically an evil version of halflings. So, stuff like that. And they love it when I do this stuff. Hobgoblins are actually one of the ones I'm working on right now because that's about to become a big factor in their campaign. And hobgoblins are extremely militant, hyper-disciplined. So I figured their culture would have a language that would be a lot like the cadences we had in the military. Short, sharp, to the point. It's clear. Every syllable is enunciated clearly so that it can be heard over the din of battle or when they're marching, things like that. And I figured it's just something that would evolve in their martial society. Elves, of course, that's just Welsh. I mean, let's be honest. So with that, it's just a liquid flow in language because there's this, elves are always described, except for widows, as being a very laid-back people that live their lives, since they are so long-lived. Everything they do just kind of flows over time, and I kind of worked with that. Plus, very artistic people. The art represents the language and vice versa, since elven art is almost always depicted as being very fluid, very rounded edges. There's not a lot of sharp edges in the any of the elven architecture that you find in most mainstream fantasy. I figured the language would probably follow along the same lines. Whereas Dwarvish, I mean, yes, I'm one of those people that plays dwarves with a Scottish accent or a German accent, one of the two. But dwarves, obviously, their language would be artistic, but have a bit more of an edge to it because, again, their architecture is the same way, their art is the same way. It's beautiful, it's well designed, but it's all geometric shapes and such, so their language would have more of a component structure to it. This is the way my head canon works, in my mind. So when I'm doing the world building for this as a DM, I always put my mind to what is the culture? What is the basis of that species or that race? What is their identity? Because as a Gale, my people are a warrior poet. We always had that, a warrior poet culture. We're fierce fighters, but we're also magnificent artists and artisans, word crafters, we're storytellers. The Celtic people were hands down the best metallurgists and metalworkers in the entirety of Europe. We had iron when everyone else was playing with bronze. We developed steel while they were still playing with iron. We invented chainmail, which is the longest lasting armor ever invented. Things like that. So with Irish, you look at the Irish language, and it has that same. It's weird. It almost has some similarities between Dwarvish and Elvish, the way I run them. Just the way we say things like hello. Kijimatartu, how you doing? Or a big good example that I've often pointed to explain the alliteration in the metaphor and the emotions that are involved in the Irish language is the way we say thank you. You know, Americans, people that speak English, just say thanks or thank you, whereas for us it's Gorov Mayagut, which literally translates to may goodness be with you, or may you have good with you. Because, and it's not just the words, it's the meaning behind it. When you're giving thanks to someone in Irish, you're not saying, hey, thanks. You're actually saying, here is a blessing in repayment for what you did for me to earn my gratitude. You're literally giving somebody a blessing. You're blessing them with some boon of sorts. And that boils down to the idea that the culture is one of art and it's one of poetry, but it's also one of honor and one of courage and integrity. And so cursing and blessing have meaning to us, big time. You cuss somebody out in Irish and it's meh. You curse someone in Irish, that's a fight starter right there. We take that shite seriously. For example, you tell somebody take trasna or fein, and you're basically telling them to go fuck themselves. You tell somebody damn the ort, you're damning them. That we take very seriously. We'll blow off to go fuck yourself, but damning somebody, that shit will start a knife fight. But anyway, so that's just a few little world building tips on how to do DMing and how to do languages real quick.